in the next 3 to 5 years. It's going to be in every Mother's Market, every vitamin shop, every GNC around the nation.
Nobody could explain to me clearly what it was. And so my misconception of it was from that experience. No one really understood it.
Most people are asking, is this going to show up on a drug test? I cannot guarantee that is not going to make them fail a drug test.
All the addiction clinics don't know what the hell to do with it, and they're scared it's another addictive compound.
People hear, hey, it's banned. They go, oh, this must be bad. It's not necessarily that it's bad. It's just that it's unregulated.
It's fascinating to know that there's these natural products that, that come from the earth that we're so intimidated by.
When I tell someone that the same thing does both of those things, they just look at you and go, oh, you're out of your mind. Like, you're out of your mind.
There's people that are afraid of things and they have a negative idea about it, but they really don't understand it or know it.
You can take a serving of our product before you go work out, because your brain is telling your body, it's time to work out. Let's get this shit, right? Rocky theme starts playing. We have people that take our product and they're like, man, this thing is just a procrastination killer, man.
Welcome to the VinnyRoc podcast.
I took the blows and did it my way.
It's time. The VinnyRoc podcast.
What's up, y'all? The podcast that you're about to see is with a guest and one of the employees of MIT45, one of our sponsors. I've been wanting to do this podcast for a while. My schedule got busy. Their schedule got busy. But I wanted to preface this fucking episode. By saying, I'm not a doctor. The gentleman's not a doctor. If you guys choose to use MIT45 company, I would ask that you talk to your doctor, your health provider, as well as your employer to make sure that it's absolutely legal and there's no issues. I don't want to be held liable for anyone taking this product. I do like the fact that they are in the mental health and wellness space. I find it important. I want to provide value for you guys. I also want to provide options if you're looking for them. This seems like an interesting product. I question myself if I'm going to try it one day. At the moment, I am not. But to be honest, if I find out that my current employer authorizes it, after this podcast, it raises the question. So I want you guys to watch the podcast, enjoy it. The information that he says sounds fascinating and interesting. We also have some links at the bottom of our podcast that you can go to from the studies that he mentions. So I hope you guys like the podcast. I'm trying to do my due diligence to make sure that you guys get the best product from me. And I love you. So thank you for your support. Take care.
That makes two of us, man.
What's up, Mark? Welcome to the podcast. This is the VinnyRoc podcast. I'm taking my supplements. This is one of my sponsors. I have this is my micro factor from First Form.
First Form, good people. Andy Frisella, yeah.
They're the best, right? It's like, there's several people that hit me up. They want to be sponsors of the podcast. I'm like, I really am loyal to my friends, and as well as the product of First Form has always been great. So they're who I use.
Awesome, man. Yeah,
and
I love it.
Prime, for some reason, just sends me them. So I'm like, I'll drink them. They're free. They're good.
Why not, man? Why not?
Yeah. Well, Mark, man, I'd love to have you. I'm glad we are having you here because, sponsoring the podcast for a few months now has been MIT45. And I have so many questions about it, but not for me only, is my audience. A lot of people are curious about it. I have some here still, but one of my buddies was like, hey, bro, can I try it? I'm like, yeah, dude, go ahead, but do your research first because I've been trying to research and I'm nervous. I'm someone who was sober 5 years from drinking. I don't think I have kind of an addictive personality per se, but drinking was this really weird cultural kind of phenomenon that I just got sucked into with everything I did in my life. But a lot of the followers have questions about MIT45. And so, sure. I mean, right off the bat, would you mind just kind of explaining MIT45 as the company, the entity of what it is?
Yeah, man, I'd love to. And thanks again for having me on. And we're grateful to sponsor your podcast. MIT45 is a kratom company. We specialize in kratom extract. Kratom is a coffee leaf. The coffee leaf comes from Indonesia. And what they found is for the last thousands of years, the individuals who live in Southeast Asia, in Indonesia, they've utilized the leaves to allow their lives to be more productive. During the day, they'd chew on it. It would help with laborious work, aches and pains and such. Or when they're going hunting, it would help with their focus. And then at night, they didn't have a social lubricant like alcohol, as you were mentioning, or cannabis. So they would brew it into a tea. It would help them relax, feel a little bit social, help them sleep at night, help them recover. And it found its way out here around the Vietnam War, where a lot of individuals who were over there, Americans that were over there, they brought back kratom, and they were using and utilizing it for their own wellness. Whether, some of them had PTSD, some of them had aches and pains, you name it. They just found that it helped them. So they brought it over here. Then you see the opioid epidemic start to rise. And as the opioid epidemic begins to rise, people are looking for solutions. They're looking ways to mitigate the pain without having to use or utilize prescriptions if that's not something that they're looking to do. So enter kratom. Kratom began to help those individuals, began to help with mitigating the chronic pain, helped to mitigate some of the opioid withdrawals. Some of the things that people found were useful included helping with opioid withdrawals, right? Well, usually those individuals would be purchasing product at a supplement store or somewhere like that. Well, where they ended up purchasing our product was a smoke shop, and that's where they would buy kratom. Kratom became incredibly prevalent in the smoke shop world. And, there's other things that were sold at smoke shops, spice, bath salts, all these other things, just because that was a place that people went to look for a feeling. And kratom provided an effect. It also provided a feeling. Like I said, the general euphoria, the focus, the aches and pains. And because of that, it began its known status as a smoke shop product.
Yeah.
Now, I am not someone who frequents a smoke shop. All right. It's just not something that I do. I don't judge those individuals, but that's not something I do. I go to a nutrition store, right? Kratom is something that does very well in smoke shops, but we believe in the next 3 to 5 years, it's going to be in every mother's market, every vitamin shop, every GNC around the nation because of its resounding benefits, not just for the things that I've mentioned, but for the things that we're continuing to find. Again, focus, euphoria. If you imagine you walk into a nutrition store, you are asking for kratom without realizing you're asking for kratom. What are you walking in there? Unless you're asking for protein powder, you're going in there saying, hey, I want to focus better. Hey, I want my workouts to be better. Hey, I want to sleep better. Hey, I want more energy. Yeah. All of those things we've found, and there have been now science and studies that have verified this information, that it assists in those things. It is a supplement that assists in them.
So kratom is a leaf, is a leaf
yes. It comes from the coffee family. A lot of people, there's a bout of misinformation out there. The people call it an opioid, right? Well, it's not an opiate. It doesn't come from a poppy family. It comes from a coffee family. It interacts with what's called the mu receptor in your brain. That mu receptor is your neurotransmitter receptor, right? Opioids do use and utilize portions of that mu receptor, but so does chocolate. So does cheese. As a matter of fact, if you look up and it says cheese is addicting, yeah, you'll find, yeah, they'll say cheese is addicting because it interacts with the mu receptor. And for some odd reason, they've titled that receptor the opioid receptor, which just simply isn't the correct way to call it. It would be like you're holding that can of Prime in your hand, right? Are we going to call that your Prime hand? Right. It holds a Prime, but it does a million other things as well, right?
Yeah, and cheese is pretty fucking. I've housed through probably 12 sticks in 1 hour, so that's just.
Man, I went to right. Last night I went to my anniversary dinner with my beautiful wife, and I looked at the menu and I saw a cheese board. I'm like, give me that charcuterie, man. Inject it right here. Let's go.
I love that. What's great, but so some weird connection between me and kratom. Yeah. In 2020, when the whole COVID lockdown happened, I was living in Utah. I was living in the South Jordan area, and Hollywood shut down. So we had no idea when the next paycheck was going to be. And at the time, I didn't have a massive contracts. So like we were living pretty close to paycheck when it comes down to it, right? So like, we're making a big block of money, but we had to spread it through the year until the next season come around, and then you got residuals. And so we're kind of like, see how this works. So the crazy part is my buddy owns a lab in Utah. You might have heard of him, Beach Tree Diagnostics. Yeah. So my buddy owns it. So he said, hey,
Oh, great.
You want to come help us out here? I'm like, yeah. So I started picking up urine from addiction clinics, and then eventually I went into sales. And one of the things that some of these addiction clinics were asking was like kratom. And I'm like, what the fuck is kratom? And nobody could explain to me clearly what it was. I had friends who worked for the toxicology lab were also like, hard to explain what kratom is, but they sell it at smoke shops, and a lot of people are curious if people take. And so my misconception of it was from that experience. No one really understood it. No one could tell me exactly what it was, but they were like, yeah, somebody was saying it's a drug. I heard that a couple times. I was like, damn, that's crazy. They sell it at fucking smoke shops. I don't fucking dabble in this kind of shit. So I'm like, I'm not going to fuck with that kratom stuff, right? And so the misconception of this was pretty massive in the Utah area because, one, you're right, it's sold in smoke shops. But two, all the addiction clinics don't know what the hell to do with it, and they're scared it's another addictive compound. And so it turned to – so when – when I was approached for Mid-45, I asked some basic questions, and I was like, look, if this thing has a property in it that falls into the wellness space, well, I'm interested. Doesn't mean I have to dabble in it personally. I don't know yet if I wanted to even try it, right? I also don't know the parameters of what I do in the outside world, if it's even legal, because, again, the misconceptions of this, I'm going to ask questions about that next. But I was like, if this has some kind of properties that does help in some kind of wellness capacity, well, then I want it on the show. I'd love to sponsor them. I'd love to support them. And so I took on the sponsorship. The crazy feedback I got was mixed. I had guys like, man, awesome. Kratom's dope, man. It's helped several guys get through addiction. It's just helped several guys work on focus. All the same things you mentioned. And then the other side of it is one guy says, coming off of kratom was just as hard for me as opiates. And then another guy saying it could be just as addictive as anything else. And I'm like, well, what the fuck is the truth? Because if I'm going to be promoting this, right, if I'm going to be promoting this, I want to have my due diligence. And so I've been waiting a long time for this podcast. My bad for not being able to schedule it when I wanted to. But, man, I'd love to. Can you answer any of those questions for the audience, for the people who are curious about it?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be happy to answer any and all questions. I'll preface it by saying kratom does not fall under the Deshay Act. So it is not technically classified as ashwagandha or astragalus or any of those things because it wasn't grandfathered into the Deshay Act, which is the Dietary Supplement Act that essentially allowed, when you go into a vitamin shop and you see all these structure functional claims that are made on particular bottles, the Deshay Act allowed that essentially to be possible. So we don't make any structure functional claims. We're not approved by the FDA. But what we use and utilize are the anecdotes that we've been given from the individuals that use and utilize our product. I think, and we'll get into the questions so that I can prevent any misinformation, or at least battle any misinformation. But I think a lot of people, when you look online and they say kratom is bad, I think that they're not misleading. I think they are misled themselves. The kratom industry needs real cleaning up. Because if you imagine a smoke shop product where people are looking for a feeling, potentially substituting one substance for another substance, there are people within the industry that go, oh, well, we're not regulated. We don't have to pass any guidelines. If we sprinkle a little additives in there, if we sprinkle a little of this or a little of that, we taint our product. Now we know that those addictive personality individuals that are coming in trying to get off of another addictive product, well, now that I know that we're going to keep those customers going to be ours for life, all we got to do is just sprinkle a little unregulated product in it. That's where there's a problem. Kratom unregulated is the issue. And we at Mid-45, we are doing everything on our side, not only to battle that part of it, but to set the standard for what we hope to be in 2 years or so, to be the absolute standard within the entire supplement division.
Yeah, no, that's good. And it's just like anything else. There's people that are afraid of things and they have a negative idea about it, but they really don't understand it or know it. It's the same as the gun industry. It's the same as any industry. You can find the same kind of misinformation campaign. I fight really hard.
And there's bad actors in each and every one of them, and without regulatory guidelines, who is it? Who's going to call out those actors, right?
Right. So
let's try to do something to help our veterans out, to feel good and get their bodies running optimal and get their minds off the past and bring them into the society we live in again, because they come back over here and sometimes society is not the greatest spot for them.
The clinical benefits of functional medicine and core medical are real simple. It's going to take a man that's gone through traumatic stress or injury or is in a real rut and bring them back to when they had full-blown excitement, energy, drive like they did when they were in their 20s. It's that simple.
Department of Defense does not have the resources as we do at Core Medical to really get down and help to treat these gentlemen, and seeing how good they felt after we got their bodies feeling good in the gym and the training and their minds right. To me, that's what it's all about. That's what makes me smile.
Modern Gun School, you guys already know who they are. If you guys are looking to use your GI Bill, use your Voc Rehab on something that is productive for yourself. If you like to build guns, if you want to learn how to build guns, you could be an armor at the comfort of your own home. Incredible company. Several people that we've sent there through this program, through the VinnyRoc podcast, has given us just nothing but the praise of the organization and how they run it, but as well as the information that they receive. So if you guys go check out Modern Gun School on Instagram, they might have changed it, but MGS Trade School is what it is on Instagram, but moderngunschool.com. Go hit them up. So can a law enforcement officer use kratom? Is there something that can hurt? Again, I don't know how it works, right? Is there something in, it's not cannabis, right? So is kratom something that law enforcement officers and active duty military personnel can take?
Great question. It is currently not allowed for an active military officer. Okay, anyone who's in active duty, it is banned. We know that to be mainly because, again, the lack of regulation. There are products out there that might have caused military members harm, and so in an effort to keep things as safe as possible, they have said we're going to outlaw all of it until we figure out what those regulatory guidelines are, and until we understand, again, kind of what exactly is the product and who can and who cannot use it for particular reasons.
To be fair, when I was in the military, they also banned Jack 3D, the
They sure did.
pre-workout supplement. So
there was a guy, I lived in Southern California, and the guy was at Camp Pendleton who ended up having a heart attack from it. So again, I'm sure you understand this. Hollywood, I've dabbled in it myself, same as bodybuilding, same as all of these different industries. We're a lot of individuals who go, if one scoop is great, 3 scoops must be amazing. And sometimes, listen, when that happens, the armed forces are going to have to ban Jack 3D, right? I mean, that's what that guy did. Yeah.
I'm not guilty of that. You know what I mean? That's so funny. Yeah, man. I just, if there's something out there that is, because this is considered to be a plant medicine of some sort, right? If I call it plant medicine, am I saying something wrong?
The only thing that I would not agree with is calling it medicine, just because we can't call it medicine, right?
Understood. So it is a plant-based
wellness. Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. It's and so out of all the regulatory that you guys do at Mid 45 to make sure that your product is the best, what is it that you guys do that kind of is different from others?
Great question. So there's a couple of different forms that we can talk about here. Kratom as a leaf you can get is a powder or as a encapsulated powder. Basically, they take the leaf, they crush it down, they have a powdered form, or they have that powder encapsulated. In that powder or in the leaf itself, there are multiple different alkaloids that cause effects. There's really only 2 that cause the effects that someone is looking for. One of them is called metragine, and the other one is called 7-hydroxymetragine. 7-hydroxymetragine is very, very, very low in all natural powder, even in all natural extracts. It's incredibly, incredibly low. Mitragynine is what it is that you're looking for that interacts with those receptors. That's what causes all of the benefits that you're looking for. Inside of powders or capsules, that mitragynine changes batch to batch, gram to gram, powder to powder. And so you're never getting an exact experience every time. You imagine you grab this big tub. Let's just say you're using protein powder. I'll use that as the best example. You take one scoop and you're like, this is 40 grams of protein. What happens if you take another scoop that's the same size and is only 22 grams of protein? You take another scoop and it's 66 grams of protein. It's just not well regulated. You're not getting exactly what it is that you're looking for per scoop. That's the way that kratom powder and kratom capsules are. So the industry has decided, what are we going to do to make sure that we can guarantee an experience for our customers every single time that we use and utilize the product? What we've done is we've created extracts. So the extracts are taking the powder and then extracting the mitragynine. And so now you see out there, you have liquid tinctures, you have gummies, you have capsules that are extract capsules, and all of those different things have a specific form of mitragynine. The problem is when you do an extract, you're never really sure how much mitragynine is in it unless they put it on the labels, right? Because you can have, let's just again go back to protein just because it's easy. You have a whey concentrate, whey isolate, whey hydrolysate. You have so many different types. With extract, you have a 45% extract, which means for every 100 milligrams, 45 milligrams is mitragynine. You have a 75% extract, which is for every 100 milligrams, 75% is mitragynine. But unless the bottle says it, you don't actually know what it is that you're getting. So they created the solution in the extracts, but created another problem with the lack of transparency and visibility.
GMR Gold, Bouillon Box. Hey, I just got a new one in. What is it? I just brought it up here. Oh, Vince, you're so unorganized. Oh, right here. Check this out. Boom. This is a Mountain Dew bottle cap. Pretty sweet. Kind of exciting to see that. Boom. On top of that, this is kind of cool. Sweethearts. Some silver. I think the family will really enjoy this. This is something I'm going to give to either my daughter or my wife. I think it's pretty cool to see. It says My Hero, Bear Hug, and Soulmate. Really cool. Actually, a great idea. Pretty sweet. And then I got the box. I haven't opened it yet, so you guys will be the first one to join me as I crack this bad boy open. Distinguished package. It comes with those two items right there. And then it comes with several other... Oh, shit, this is dope. I'm working on something really cool with GMR Gold that I'm excited about. Silver. A few other little silver bars and gold bits. And one cool thing here, this is a Spider-Man silver... You tell me this ain't Spider-Man. This is Spider-Man to me. I think this is Spider-Man. Pretty rad. I'll take some time to check this out later. Put those aside. You guys can go get your Bouillon Box. It's a subscription-based model. You guys go check them out. Check out GMR Gold if you guys are just interested in buying, selling, or understanding the market, the value of gold and silver, precious metals. It's a trusted company. We really enjoy working with them. I've worked with them for many years, and so you guys can check them out.
I bring all of this up because it's very important for our customers, both at MIT45 and Uprising, which is the fitness vertical, the fitness lane inside of MIT45. It's important for us to understand what our customers want and how we can provide them exactly what it is that they're looking for at every single point in time. So step one is all of our labels that we're redoing right now, as a matter of fact, they're going to say specifically how much mitragynine is in each and every product. Not only are we going to put how much mitragynine is in each and every product, but we're going to standardize it. Every single product we have, whether it's a tincture that is 125 milligrams of mitragynine or a tincture that's 75 milligrams, we're always going to have a dropper on there to specifically say that one serving is 25 milligrams. So no matter what it is that you're getting, a soft gel, a gummy, a tincture, you're always going to get 25 milligrams per serving. Now, if someone wants to take more servings than that, that's their prerogative. We recommend you use a little personal accountability with that, obviously. But in creating a standardized serving, we're now telling the entire industry, hey, this is not for someone to chase a feeling. You know, the same way that you imagine caffeine is with energy drinks or even in pre-workouts, right? You have the pre-workout that comes out and it's 100 milligrams of caffeine. Okay, awesome. 300 milligrams of caffeine. Okay, awesome. Now you're looking at high stim 700 milligrams of caffeine. What is it that's doing? It's having some, you know, some teenager going into a vitamin shop going, oh, this one says it's really going to get me going. Let's go. Not realizing, of course, that caffeine is a vasorestrictor, so the pump that they're trying to get, they're actually not going to be getting anyways, right? With kratom, you're kind of getting the same thing. You have someone that, you know, a shot that says 1,000 milligrams in it. Well, someone's going to walk in and go, oh, 1,000 milligrams, that's the one I want to get. And then they're going to end up chasing a feeling and not feeling good when they're supposed to be utilizing this to benefit and enhance their feeling. So that's one of the things that we're doing on our side, 25 milligrams for every single serving going forward. Now, we like to say exceptional is standard, right? Our standardization is exceptional. On our products, we have a QR code. That QR code, the standard that people do is they put their COA on there, right? Their certificate of authenticity shows the lab results. That's enough to make a customer go, okay, seems like these people are pretty legit. We can see the labs. How can we take that further? How can we make exceptional standard? On that QR code, we're also going to have a chain of command. So you are going to see every single time that someone has carried our product, all the way from the leaves in Indonesia to it being quarantined, to it being released from quarantine, who signed off on it, all the way down to the product that you have in your hand. So you're going to have a connection to Southeast Asia where it grows. And you're going to know, oh, this thing that I'm holding, I know exactly where this came from. Now that is exceptional as standard. But we still have one more thing. We look at that and go, that's pretty good. That's almost exceptional. How can we be really exceptional? How can we look at this and have every other company, whether they're a kratom company or a supplement company, look at them and go, oh, I don't know how we're going to follow that. On our QR code, we're also going to have a webcam inside of our manufacturing facility, 24/7, that you're going to be able to see how our product is made at any point in time. That is transparency to the nth degree. People say transparency is taking your clothes off. I'm taking my clothes off and I'm shedding my skin. You can see everything, right? So that's what it is that we're looking for. We have nothing to hide, not only as a company, but as a kratom company and as a supplement hopeful company in the future, right? You can't see other companies like Andy Frisella, just like you mentioned with First Form. The CEO of First Form. He's out there. His name is out there. You recognize him. He's very transparent with everything that he does. In MIT 45, our CEO is Ryan Nidell, who I know you have a relationship with. I'm sure you can attest to the same thing. You text him, he's always going to respond. You call him, he's going to answer. And he's very transparent about every single thing that we do.
That's great.
Yeah.
I always wanted to, I want to do the same with a nonprofit. I'm trying to do something similar to that, where like every dollar spent is some kind of website. And I'm going to give that idea to everybody. And me and Ryan are supposed to talk about my nonprofit, so maybe we can partner and help more veterans and law enforcement officers. That's what we do. But point
we
being,
would love that.
Yeah, I want to connect that. It's just, everyone's busy, but we need to connect that dot, because that's why I thought this was important. I always want to be able to give veterans and law enforcement officers some kind of answer if needed, or give them a resource. Like, here, you take any path you want, but here's options, right? Giving options, I think, is important.
And I will say just real quick, because to close the door on the active military, it is not allowed. Veterans do use and utilize our product pretty regularly. As a matter of fact, on Uprising, our fitness vertical, we have Jeremy Potman, who is a veteran himself. He's a IFBB Pro Physique competitor. He uses and utilizes kratom. If you look at our Instagram, there was an individual who runs a store in Ohio who is a veteran. He utilizes it for his PTSD. He made an incredible video about that. As a matter of fact, I'll give it to you to put in right here.
Bury me, man. You bury me. Promise me you bury me, okay?
And so there are quite a few veterans that use and utilize our product, and it enhances their way of life. It enhances their mood. It enhances, their general aches and pains that they may be feeling.
Let me ask you. I mean, I've never taken it. I'm still, I'm still on the fence of whether I want to even venture into that. And I also got to look at the parameters of legalities of what I do for a living as well. And I'm not public about some of the stuff I do on the outside. Either way, can law enforcement officers, is it a state-by-state basis? Is that kind of how that works?
So state by state, it is its legality is state by state. It is federally legal. There are a couple of states that have banned it. They banned it back when the FDA was trying to invoke an emergency Schedule 1 on kratom back in about 2016. All of the states that it is currently banned in, it is banned not because they necessarily find it dangerous, but because we are still negotiating what the regulatory guidelines look like in that respective state. Okay. So in Wisconsin, for example, they have what's called the Kratom Consumer Protection Act, which has been passed in, I believe, 12 states already, which is the regulatory guidelines in Utah, in Nevada, a couple of other great places. But Wisconsin, where it is currently illegal, they have the Kratom Consumer Protection Act that has been introduced. We're going back and forth to see what the standards are supposed to be, what the regulation is supposed to be. So again, people hear, hey, it's banned, and they go, oh, this must be bad. It's not necessarily that it's bad. It's just that it's unregulated, and we need to figure out how to regulate it so that the companies that aren't doing it correctly, so that they are either forced to do it correctly or forced out of the industry.
Yeah, no, I love that. And so you said it's federally it's legal. So federal agents, law enforcement officers should have no issues using that?
I would recommend that each person talk to their superior. From what we've seen, active military are the only individuals that it is banned. But before anyone uses and utilizes our product, we always recommend that you talk to your superior. What most people are asking when they ask that question is, hey, is this going to show up on a drug test? And the very easy answer to that is,
but yes,
say again?
I didn't want to say that outright, but I'm curious.
No, you're fine. You're fine. So the easy answer is it depends, which of course is not an easy answer, but depends on what it is that they're looking for. If they're looking for opioids, it's not going to show up. If they're looking for cannabis, it's not going to show up. If they're looking for kratom, yes, it's going to show up because it's kratom, right? The kratom drug test is not only very expensive, but incredibly rarely used. I personally have never actually heard of someone firsthand who has been tested for kratom. Okay. The other thing that I mentioned is I cannot guarantee that a kratom product that your followers purchase is not going to make them fail a drug test. The only one I can guarantee is MIT 45 and its associated products like Uprising. Those ones I can guarantee because I know what's in those ones.
Yeah.
Right? But again, because it's unregulated, if you go to a gas station and you're looking at 4 different ones and you're going, I'm just going to buy the cheapest one. You get what you pay for, and I don't know what's in that. So I cannot vouch for any other brands except for MIT 45 and except for Uprising and the other companies that MIT 45 work with.
Yeah, I've been on the back end of the toxicology side of it, and they use mass spectrometry to kind of identify the different what would you say, chemicals in specific drugs. And so they actually have to identify the exact drug that they're trying to look for, and then they have to put it into the system, and then they have to create a threshold where you identify that is, because the poppy seed kind of conversation bullshit, right? But whatever the case is, it's the same thing that you did for like COVID tests. You can identify COVID in anything if you have the threshold so high, you know?
Right, exactly, yeah.
So it's such a strange thing when it comes to like drug testing. There's definite for sure, but then there's also this really weird space of like of how they pretty much every mass spectrometer has a different read, and they're trying to be accurate in different labs, but one lab to another lab can be slightly different. And so it's kind of a crazy, bizarre thing. But, it's good to know. So those of you guys who are listening, if it's Mint 45, they know it's regulated. They know what's in it. You can identify what's in it. But if you get in some kind of kratom off the street or at one of these smoke shops that's not regulated, there's no guarantee on what you can piss hot for, if you even do piss hot at all. And so, interesting.
Right, exactly. We have a few, federal workers, government workers that use and utilize our products relatively frequently. As a matter of fact, this is an interesting story, but at the American Kratom Association, which is the lobbyist board that helps keep kratom legal and push forward the Kratom Consumer Protection Act, the senior advisor for that, his wife works at Capitol Hill, and she called him during January 6th. And she sounded incredibly calm. And he said, sounds like a lot's going on over there. Are you okay? And she goes, honestly, I took some kratom, and the rest of the people that are here locked in, we all took some kratom, and I think we're feeling pretty good. We should be stressed. We should be scared shitless. But right now, I think we're doing all right. We'll be okay. So it's an interesting story to hear that people that are actually at Capitol Hill are using and utilizing kratom themselves.
Let me ask you, I know there's some popular people out there, some high-level special operations guys and this and that who use it. If you could kind of describe that, what people have told you, the feeling they get, you say it's calmness. Is it like it's not like a drunk, right? I mean, someone can still drive a car.
Yeah. When you use a typical serving, I mean, it's not going to impair you to that degree. If you use, again, a typical serving, if you use it in abundance, I mean, shoot, I've taken caffeine to an abundance and had my wife drive home a couple of times just because my head is pounding like crazy. But this is the best way of explaining it. If you have that mu receptor in your brain, let's imagine that as a piano. And when you take an opioid, it plays that exact song. It binds to exactly what it's supposed to do, right? You get Beethoven every single time. Ba, 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 every time. When you take, let's just say Adderall, it utilizes that exact thing. You know exactly what you're getting every time. You're playing the Rocky theme, da, 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 right? Every single time. Okay. That's why you don't get, even though it's the same receptor, you don't get pain relief when you take focus medication, right? Kratom is wholly unique in that it doesn't bind to any particular spot specifically. So it's not a piano, it's a jukebox. That jukebox means that when you take it, depending upon the environment and the intent, that is what it utilizes. So you can take it. You can take a serving of our product before you go work out. And because your brain is telling your body, it's time to work out. Let's get this shit, right? Rocky theme starts playing, right? Then you go home, you're laying on the couch, you're watching TV instead of you having a glass of red wine or whatever. You're like, you know what? I'm going to throw down a 25 milligram soft gel. You take that because your feet are up, because you're relaxed. Your brain is telling your body, hey, it's time to calm down. You're going to hear a nice little lullaby. That's what you're going to hear, right? And so it really is. It makes me sound like a snake oil salesman when I tell this to anyone, where I can say, here, take this product before you work out. You'll have the best workout of your life. Your body will give out before your brain does. Your focus is going to be unmatched. And those aches and pains that you typically get in your shoulder or your elbow is going to go away. Also, take this exact same thing before you go to bed at night. You're going to have the best sleep of your life. It's going to be absolutely incredible. You're not going to wake up. Your shoulders that usually keep you up at night, you're going to be just fine. Okay, when I tell someone that the same thing does both of those things, they just look at you and go, oh, you're out of your mind. Like, you're out of your mind. But the crazy part is we have, so under Uprising, which that's the fitness vertical of MIT 45, we have 31 athletes. They range from Branch Warren to Nick Walker, to Hunter Labrada, to Flex Wheeler. We have some of the biggest names in bodybuilding. Yeah. And it's so crazy when they all sit down in a room together and you start talking to them and going, what do you use it for? And Branch says, oh, I take a gummy every night before I go to bed. I'm not about this CBD shit. I don't know what the hell any of this stuff is, but my buddy gave me one of these things. And let me tell you, I thought it was a placebo at first. It's not a placebo. I get the best sleep of my life every single time I take it. Then you talk to Nick Walker, who's training for the New York Pro right now, and he goes, I take it before my cardio. I'm supposed to do 45 minutes. I do 52 minutes just because I feel so damn good and I feel like I can keep going. I'm like, okay, so you're taking the same thing but this guy uses for this and this guy uses it for this. It sounds insane to me, but we always recommend the only way for you to understand is to experience it yourself.
Yeah, it's wild. It's absolutely wild. Let me ask: does it affect any kind of heart rhythm? Does it change your heart rhythm? Does blood pressure go up or heart rate go up at all? Is it like you would a cup of coffee?
Right. So it's stimulant like, but it's not a stimulant. It is from a coffee leaf, but it doesn't have any caffeine in it. We haven't seen any signs of vasorestriction. We haven't seen any studies, or at least I haven't seen any studies that show an effect to a heart rhythm, to an increased heart rate, to an increased blood pressure. My blood pressure is great. My heart rate is, I sleep at 45 beats per minute, and I take the product multiple times a week.
Really interesting.
Yep.
It's freaking fascinating. So let me ask, what got you into this?
Yep. This is a great question, man. It's a great question. So I went to school to be a film producer. When I was younger, I was a child actor. I was on Even Stevens, Liar Liar, all these fun things, right? And I I was actually the token fat kid on the majority of the things that I was on, right? So I would not get an audition because I was either too fat or not fat enough, which imagine a 6-7-year-old hearing that and wondering what the hell they're supposed to do with their life, right? So I know you know the industry pretty damn well. So after I outgrew my roles, I'll say, I decided, you know what, I still really love being on movie sets. So I became a producer. I went to school for it. And I started working on a couple of, action films here and there. And I linked up with a producer, documentary producer, who just completed a movie about his opioid crisis, his opioid epidemic, or his experience with the opioid epidemic. And after that, he was making another movie called The Leaf of Faith, which was about kratom. And I didn't know anything about it. He asked me to help on a couple of things. So I'm like, yeah, sure, I'll help out. Now, as this was happening, I needed a complete hip replacement. I was born with a degenerative hip disorder. And so at the age of 27, I needed a complete hip replacement. Before I went in, doctor gave me a prescription pad, an inch thick, of every single drug you can possibly imagine. Now, I'm helping making this movie about, an alternative. I have a best friend who became an addict because of a botched hip replacement surgery. And now I'm looking at this prescription pad and I'm like, this is the definition of a fork in the road. And which way am I going to go? So I decided, you know what? I'm going to try this. I didn't fill a single prescription. And the only thing I used for an entire hip replacement recovery was kratom. And I would go to the gym while I was recovering. I would utilize it. And I'm like, my hip's feeling all right. And then the funny part happened. After my hip recovered, I would go to the gym and I'm like, you know what? I don't need this for my hip. I don't need this for those aches and pains anymore. But you know what, man? God, it makes me feel really good. And my stamina is unmatched and my focus is incredible. There's no pre-workout out there that can do what this has been doing for me during these recovery times. So I started using and utilizing it for that as a pre-workout of sorts. And that's when I realized, I was like, you know what? I can't sit back and just keep making movies and doing all of this, knowing that the opioid epidemic is happening and knowing that this plant is out there that can do these great things, but is somehow pigeonholed into the smoke shop world. And that's when I decided to quit film altogether and decided, you know what? I'm just going to make it my relentless pursuit to get this into every single hand possible. Because as great as it is for addicts. And there's amazing studies that have shown how it helps with, alcohol dependence. It helps with all of these different things. As great as it is for those individuals, this product belongs in the hands of soccer moms that get migraines taking their kids to and from practice every day. Or my 85-year-old grandmother who takes this many pills every single day, and I give her a gummy, and now she takes a half a gummy twice a day, and these are no longer needed. Like, that's who this product belongs to. This amazing plant that was put on this earth to help people somehow found its way into the wrong hands at one point and went down that wrong fork in the road. So my relentless pursuit, MIT45's relentless pursuit, and then your friend, our mutual friend, Ryan Nidell, our pursuit is to right that road and explain that this is not what people think it is. It's an industry problem, and we're helping to fix that, leading by example. But it's not the plant's fault, man. The plant is a miracle.
It's crazy, man. Like, it's crazy. I love the title too. The leaf of faith. Holy shit, that's fucking money.
That was a good one.
Where's that at right now?
You could watch that. You could currently watch that on YouTube. I'm sure you know Chris Bell, the director of Bigger, Stronger, Faster. So he made Bigger, Stronger, Faster, and then he made Prescription Thugs, which was the documentary about the opioid epidemic. And then A Leaf of Faith was the follow-up to Prescription Thugs. And you can find that, like I said, probably on YouTube.
Crazy. Yeah, it's not the first time certain products or items get a bad name. It's the same as like a lot of people are using psilocybin. Like in the veteran community, a lot of guys are using psilocybin now or a version of some kind of EMT to heal a lot of their deep trauma. And and a lot of people have been trying. The veteran community. I've said that I'm sober, coming up on 5 years. Actually, next month, 5 years.
Congrats.
Wasn't easy, and still is not easy. Right, something I still fight, and the community has been struggling with alcoholism for so long, and guys have either pivoted into marijuana or other things, but like I felt like, man, one drug to another drug, or this dependency, how do we stop? How do we just find something that's just healthier? And it's hard to really determine what that is. Some guys are now they do psilocybin often, or this or that, and I don't know what the right answer is, man, but having options that's better than drinking. Anything to me is better than drinking. Like anything is like one step, get off that ledge first. And if you can get away from drinking, anything right now to me has been a better situation, because drinking has caused more death in the military than anything else. And so I'm always like an advocate for anything other than alcohol. If you can remove alcohol, almost anything out there that's an option, whether it be CBD, whether it be marijuana, whether it be psilocybin, whether it be MIT45 and kratom, right, is a better option than drinking. And that is what I'm trying to get to people. Like, there's so many other options that, like, I'd say try something different, because if you can get off drinking, that really starts the path of healing, because now you actually face the world a little bit different, and you actually give yourself a chance, because that is one of the most toxic things that veterans and law enforcement officers consume to, it was a rough day, or a long day, whatever.
Take the edge off, right?
Right. And so it's like, I'm trying to tell people, like, trust me, we've been fooled to believe drinking is the answer. We've been sucked into the idea of that. And some people can manage it, but we've seen the veteran community crumble under alcohol, because it's just what people do. It's this crazy thing. And so that's why I'm super proud of working with you guys. Now, I'm still skeptical about trying it. Now, this conversation has definitely brought me down the path more of like, wow, maybe – let me see if if it fits into my world where it's legal for me to use because of my job, which I recommend anyone listen to this. You have to go down. I would do your due diligence and make sure that your job is approved of it. You don't get yourself in a position where you have to take a piss test and it shows up, or whatever the case is. I would do your due diligence and making sure that this is right for you. But man, just hearing the way you talk about it inspires me to look even deeper into it. Like, man, maybe this is something that I'm sitting here. I did the gym today, right? And I only did cardio for 20 minutes, and I was hoping I was doing 30, right? I couldn't do it. At 20, I'm like, all right, we're good. I'm out of here, And so hearing you, like, really, like, maybe it'll work for me in fitness, Maybe it'll work for me in, dude, I'm a writer. I write all the time, right? That's what I'm doing more in Hollywood more than anything right now is writing. I have several projects that, we're pitching. And in that sense is like, and I'm doing college. I'm in college right now. And so just sitting there focusing to write a damn paper, I'm like sitting here thinking like, would it help me there? And like, it's fascinating to know that there's these natural products that, you know, that come from the earth that, you know, we're so intimidated by, right? Like, how are we so intimidated by what's in nature and we're not intimidated by fucking taking Advil? You know what I mean?
Because we've been duped. We've been told a bill of goods that says trust your X, Y, or Z, whatever that may be, your doctor, your senator, your congressperson, whatever it is. We've been told trust your insert name here, as opposed to do your research, right? If you do your research, you'll find that the National Institute of Drug Abuse has been doing multiple tests and studies on kratom. Johns Hopkins, Harvard, University of Florida. There's a great man down there by the name of Christopher McCurdy that's doing incredible work finding out what exactly this does, how it works with your body. I'll show you an article that was posted again about how kratom has been used and utilized for drug dependence and for alcohol dependence. And it helps people wean themselves off of alcohol. That's one of the things that I can say because we saw the tests that concluded that, right?
Yeah. Send me that link. I'll put it into the whole bio of this.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, the other thing that people hear is, you know, I'm sure you probably got some questions about this one way or the other, but, you know, overdoses. Can you overdose on it? Can you die from it? Right? Someone looks it up and goes, oh, there's wrongful death suits about X, Y, or Z, right? Well, the people that it shows that that have perished, and it's very unfortunate that they've passed away. They're poly drug users, so they have kratom in their system, and they have something else, whether it's tramadol, fentanyl, you name it. And there has been a memo that goes out there that says if kratom is in the system, death by kratom. I'm sure you've heard this with some other things at some point in time, right? And it's crazy. You know this because you've dealt in the toxicology a little bit yourself, but they call it kratom toxicity syndrome. I've never heard of that before. It doesn't really exist. If someone dies of an overdose of fentanyl, for example, what do they die of? They die of respiratory suppression.
Yep.
Now they use the cause being fentanyl or whatever it is because it recruits beta arrestin in your body, and that's what causes respiratory suppression and eventually death. With kratom, every quote unquote death that they found where kratom is attributed or included, they're just calling it kratom toxicology syndrome or toxic kratom syndrome, something like that. And the threshold, again, we're talking about thresholds, is 0.0001 to hundreds of thousands. There literally isn't a blood marker that shows, oh, this is where toxic syndrome happens. They don't have it. So it goes back to do your research. Look a little bit deeper. Look a little bit further. Are they going to want to say that it was a prescription opioid that killed someone? Or are they going to want to say that it's this other thing that already has all of these other bad names to it because of the industry in and of itself? Now, what we will say is do not take kratom with other substances. The reason for that is because kratom uses a particular enzyme in your stomach that it uses in abundance. And if you take kratom with something else, because it doesn't have those enzymes to break it down fully, there's much more that's bioavailable to enter your bloodstream and pass the blood-brain barrier. So I'll give you an example. We used kratom with huperzine and took one serving. We're like, huperzine is a nootropic, right? It increases choline production. And we took one serving. We're like, this is interesting. It feels really, really good. And then we were doing R&D. So we took another serving. We're like, I'm starting to get nauseous. Where is that coming from? Why am I getting nauseous? It turns out it was the overproduction of choline in the system that was causing the nausea because kratom was utilizing the majority of the enzyme that was required. So that's, again, where we go back and say, try a serving. A serving is 25 milligrams of mitragynine. That is more than enough for you to find out whether or not you feel anything. If you tried 25 milligrams and you're like, you know what? I didn't feel anything. Okay, that's fine. Try 50. Move up from there. The great part about kratom, and it's crazy that I say this every single time, is it's the only thing that you can take at a store where 100% of the time you're going to feel it. Now, I'm sure you've had pre-workouts where you've worked out one day and you're like, oh my God, this is the best thing in the world. And then you try the exact same thing the next day. You're like, where was that edge that I had yesterday? And so you take it and you go, I think it works, but I have good days and bad days. I don't know if I feel it some days, and I don't know if I feel it on others. When you take kratom, when you find the serving that works for you, 100% of the time, when it hits you, you're like, oh, okay, here we go. Now I'm ready to go. Now, I've never taken more than 60 milligrams intentionally in my life. It's just, I've been doing this for 10 years. That's the serving that works great for me. Our business partner on the uprising side, his name is Guy Cisternino. He's a IFBB pro bodybuilder himself. He takes 125. That's just what works for him.
Everyone's different.
Everybody is different. That's why we recommend a starting serving size of 25 milligrams. If you just go with a friend and a friend hands you a tub of powder, of kratom powder, and goes, here, you got to try this, man. Think about the level of invisibility and lack of transparency that friend is then providing their other friend, right? You have no idea what you're getting. Yeah. But you trust your friend and you go, okay, I'm going to try it. So what we've done is we've eliminated every single barrier of potential invisibility.
When someone, say, has an addictive personality, right? They're addicted to opiates, and they try to wean off of opiates using kratom. Do they find themselves now addicted to kratom?
Kratom, we can say medically, we have the studies to show it. It is not physically addictive. We have concluded studies that have now said that. Okay. What we do say, and what it says on the packaging, is that it can be habit forming. Okay. The same way that coffee is. Again, comes from a coffee leaf plant. The funny part about this entire conversation is, think about every single meme that you've ever seen that says, don't talk to me before my morning cup of coffee. Right. Or every meme that you've ever seen of a soccer mom who is desperate to put her feet up and have that bottle of wine. And the bottle of wine is like this big, right? If you imagine those, we're laughing about it. We think it's funny, but you obviously recognize the harm in that. You recognize, it's a little dangerous to be talking about that in the mainstream as much as it is. Now, if any of those memes, if we substituted out coffee and wine and put kratom in there, they would be looked at as, oh my gosh, this person must be an addict.
Yeah.
They are substituted in. If Starbucks started out by selling at your local head shop as opposed to at a coffee shop, that shit would be banned so quickly. Because if you take a serving of MIT 45 and you take a 300 milligram energy drink or a Trenta cup of coffee, and you take both of those every day for 90 days, on that 91st day, you stop both of them. You tell me which one's going to give you that headache more. Now, that headache you're feeling, they attributed that to withdrawals, right? How is that any different from the phrase addictive versus habit forming?
Yeah.
Right. So what we say is that it can be habit forming. What we say is utilize personal accountability, understand what it is that you're using, understand if you are utilizing it to too high of a degree, understand if you are utilizing it to the point of substitution. Because you obviously know there's a lot of people that if they're addicted to one thing, they could they can use the gym and then substitute the addiction of opioids for the gym, right? Is it addictive? Is it habit forming? You can make that determination. But what we recommend is if someone is looking to get off of opioids, or if they're looking to use and utilize our product and they have an addictive personality, keep a cognizant eye of that.
Yeah. Fast. I've learned so much in the 50 minutes we've been talking.
And there's so much more that we can learn too. There's something really, really great that MIT 45 is doing is the FDA has to do safety studies in order for products to be quote unquote FDA approved. Each one takes about 18 months, right? They just concluded one on powder. The powder one, again, took quite a while, but the conclusion of the kratom powder one was the FDA said that kratom powder is well tolerated in human bodies, even at highest dosages. Okay. So we found that it's quote unquote well tolerated, whatever that means to the FDA. Sounds promising, but now they have to do one on capsules. Then they have to do one on extracts. And that's going to take quite a bit of time. So what MIT45 is doing is we have outsourced and hired studies to be done. We are funding them. But in that agreement with the individuals that are doing the studies, we have signed and concluded that no matter what comes out from those studies, we will publish them. If we find something wrong, you are going to know about it. If you find something right, you are going to know about it. We are going to tell you the difference between a male taking it and a female taking it, the DNA strands that could cause a higher propensity for addiction on one side versus the other. We are doing every single study that can possibly be done because we recognize that sometimes the government, though they are doing the right thing by doing these studies, can sometimes take too long to do them. So we are taking our own initiative to do those studies as well. So as much as you might have learned now, this is all in the last 7 years, you have to imagine. So only 7 years worth of conclusive studies that have been done. Imagine where we're going to be in 10, 12 years. It's funny. We're talking, you were talking about studying for finals and all these other things. We have people that take our product and they're like, man, this thing is just a procrastination killer, man. I'm like, I like that. I like that, right? You take the product and you're like, what else can I do today? What else? How else can I be more productive today? And that's a pretty damn good feeling to have. It's a pretty damn good feeling to have, right? And you can say that's an addicting feeling. Okay. It's feeling good can be addicting. Okay. That's not the same as a physical addiction, right? So the other thing that I let people know is, let's just say you have some aches and pains and you utilize kratom. You good?
Yeah, I got to cramp my leg real quick.
I can't guarantee kratom will help with that. So let's imagine you have some aches and pains and you utilize kratom and kratom helps with those aches and pains. You do that again for 90 days and on the 91st day you stop taking it. Well, if you didn't do anything to aid those aches and pains and to fix the root cause of the problem, that pain is going to be creeping back. And on that 91st day, if that pain is creeping back, your brain is going to go, oh, where's that thing that makes that pain go away? That thing that I was taking that made me not feel this. I want that. Give me that. That is not a physical addiction by science. That is not scientifically labeled as a physical addiction. So again, there's anecdotal experiences, and I never ever discredit an anecdotal experience because everyone's experience is their own and is unique. I will just say that the science says one thing, and what you might be feeling doesn't necessarily pertain to the phrases that you might be using, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Tell me about the uprising is what you said?
Yeah, uprising. Yeah, it's this bad boy right here.
All right, I'm expecting a pack on this. I'm ready. Get me in. I'm expecting.
Let's go. Let's go. Yeah. So Uprising is it's a pet project of mine. It's actually how I got working with MIT45. I've been part of the kratom industry, like I said, for 10 years, starting with my affiliation with the film and then extending out from there. I've worked with a bunch of different companies, and there were always things that I wanted to do that the other companies weren't necessarily comfortable with doing. And that doesn't mean cutting corners or anything, just means if they are making a boatload of money from the industry that they're selling in. And I say, hey, it's going to take 2 or 3 years in this industry and a lot of money, but I think we can get into it. There are some companies that just went, you know what? I think we're good in the lane that we're in. So I decided, you know what? Screw it. I'm going to start my own company. And it's going to be for athletes, by athletes. And myself, I'm a 3rd generation world champion powerlifter. Me, my dad, and my grandfather inducted into the powerlifting AAU Hall of Fame at the age of 16. So I am an athlete, and I'm also someone who knows aches and pains pretty damn well. And then my business partner, his name is Guy Cisternino. He was on a podcast a few years ago, and he mentioned that he was going through some awful withdrawals from a surgery that he had. And I live in Houston. He was in Dallas. And I said, hey, man, I will drive force to you if you just try something for me. And he goes, I don't know who the hell you are, but our mutual friend vouched for you. I'll try anything. So I drove up there. I handed him something. He goes, what is this? I'm like, just take it. Now, in hindsight, someone like me just handing someone a glass vial in a hotel room saying, here, just take this. Probably not the best of ideas, but bodybuilders aren't necessarily known for their best of ideas, right? And so he took it, and we're sitting there shooting the shit for about 20 minutes, and he stands up to go to the restroom, and he goes, holy shit. And I went, okay, what? Talk to me. What are you feeling? Because I didn't tell him what he was supposed to feel at the beginning. I just said, take it and you tell me. And he goes, my pain is like 60 to 70% gone. It's crazy. I haven't been able to do this in like a decade. I can't believe this. And then I'm like, great, tell me more. And he goes, I feel like I could either run a marathon or I could go to sleep, but whichever one I do, I know I'm going to do really well at it. And that's just how I feel. It's crazy. What is it that you gave me? I started to explain it to him a little bit, and he just smiled and he pointed at me. He goes, you and I are going to start a company. And I went, you're damn right we are, right? And that forged a partnership that turned into a great friendship between Guy and I. And we started Uprising a couple years ago. And we knew what we wanted to be. We knew we wanted to be a fitness-related brand, kratom brand within this industry. And we started giving it out to a bunch of friends. Guy is very well known in the bodybuilding industry. He's the godfather to quite a few legends kids in the bodybuilding world. We handed it out to a bunch of people and said, here, you try this, you try this, you try this, like Branch Warren, as I mentioned. And every single person that tried it came back going, this stuff is crazy. Like, this is bodybuilding's best kept secret. And I said, well, let's not keep it a fucking secret. I got bills to pay, bro. Let's go. And so we ended up going to the Olympia in 2023. And it was, again, we were a small company, but very, very loyal fan base. And we get to the Olympia in 2023, and it's just a merchandising booth for a Guy. And I just had a quarter of a table where I'm like, screw it, I'll come in, sell some products, see how it goes. MIT45 was sponsoring the Olympia. So big kratom company was there and gigantic booth. And we're sitting there with just like a tiny little spot, right? Well, Ryan walked by and he saw a line for Guy, and then he saw a line twice as long to purchase our Uprising. And he comes over, and Ryan and Guy had a history because they both are meatheads and they know each other. He's like, are you selling kratom? And Guy's like, yeah, what are you doing? He's like, I'm the CEO of that one. And he goes, oh, wow. And Ryan's like, what can we do to work together? You know, bring down costs. We'll find a way to see how it works. And that night, I told Guy, I'm like, hey, you know, it'd be really crazy is if we partner with them and became their fitness vertical. And he goes, I don't think that's ever going to happen. And the first call that Guy and I had with Ryan was like, you know what? Without me even bringing it up, he goes, you know what we should do? Why don't you guys just come on in, be the fitness vertical, and you know you'll be the fitness side of MIT45. And I'm just trying to hold back my smile, like, sounds pretty good. Sounds like a good idea. Maybe we should try that, right? And so we get off the phone and start the paperwork and figure it out. And what we ultimately found out is there were so many athletes that MIT45 was interested in speaking to. And so many of them said, sorry, I'm friends with Mark or I'm friends with Guy. My loyalty lies with him or them. And so we were able to bring our resources from a social standpoint, from an influence standpoint, and bring it into this gigantic, near $100 million in revenue machine. And they were able to bring us assets that we as a small startup wouldn't have been able to do ourselves. Yeah. And so the merger is kind of a perfect marriage in what we bring to the table, what each respective side brings to the table. And our product, we just completed a new line of labels that are being printed right now with, as I mentioned, the serving sizes and the transparency and the QR code on it. We have all of those things on ours as well. But we're going to be the fitness vertical. And I mentioned a couple of the names, like I said, Branch Warren, Nick Walker, Hunter Labrada, Celeste Bonin from the WWE, a guy that you might know real well, Tanoi Reed. He's he's the Rock stuntman and cousin. Yeah, he's on our team as well. So we're kind of taking over. And it was one of those things where social media has always been interesting with kratom. They haven't specifically said what we can and cannot do, but with the amount of athletes that we have, we've kind of broken the door open and said, you know what, we're here We're here. We're transparent. We're telling you everything.
I'm curious if the UFC athletes are able to use it.
Yep. Yeah.
Really?
So I know USADA. I know Jeff Nowitzki. He knows about kratom. He's okay with kratom. There's no issues there whatsoever. As a matter of fact, we have a bare knuckle boxer who's on our team, and we have quite a few UFC athletes that use and utilize kratom on a daily basis.
Dude,
Isn't that crazy?
I love it.
And all of this it's very funny because this conversation 4 years ago would have been about CBD, right?
Yeah.
You would have come to me and went, wait, it's that cannabis stuff. I'm not sure if we can say that or use that. Are these people allowed to use it? Are these people? And now 3 of the top 5 products at Vitamin Shop are Martha Stewart brand CBD, right?
Yeah, man. You ain't lying, because you know what? I've done this podcast for a while. At one point, we did have CBD, and I had the same. I had the owner on, like, explain it to us, man. Tell the people what they can and can't do for the same exact reason. It's like, it's kind of crazy, man. It's almost copy and paste the same situation where you guys are dealing with the same kind of scrutiny and negativity. It was the same with TRT at one point. Back in the day, I've been doing TRT for 6 years. 6 years ago, I was one of the first veterans publicly speaking on TRT, and everyone's like, whoa, and I'm like, bro, it's not a steroid. It's not a steroid. You know, one of my sponsors.
And now it's advertised in between every NFL game, right?
Yeah, everybody. Yeah, the company that I work with is Core Medical, and we've brought on probably 12 massive veteran influencers because they're like, yeah, bro, it works. I'm like, I know, dude. It's another like, crazy, man. Well, shit, I like being one of the disruptors in the space, dog. I'm going to tell you that. And you know what I mean? This podcast is all about trying to do wellness and mental health for many and hopefully find answers. And Mid-45 and your athlete company, what is it called? It's Uprising.
Uprising.
Uprising, like you guys are on the cusp of this, man. You guys have been doing it, and the way Ryan does business, I know he's always been legit, and so I'm happy that you guys are part of my team. I hope that I can bring value to you guys, because genuinely just hearing what you guys, how you explained it and your transparency of the topic, I think is so fascinating and important. You don't find a lot of people willing to just open up about this topic like this. And so this has been cool. I think my listeners are going to love it. And you're going to have, after this comes out, I imagine you're going to have a lot more people curious about it and checking the website. And because like I said, my following is a lot of military veterans and law enforcement officers. That's a big majority of who listens to my podcast. And I just think I hope we have a long partnership, man, and I hope that we can work on some of the nonprofit stuff I said to help men, figure out their lives and get their shit straight.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely, man. I completely agree with you. Thanks so much for having me on and allowing me to dispel some of the information out there while also providing some additional information. I think that you have already been an amazing, tremendous value add just by allowing us to have this conversation. And to the veterans and individuals that you have that listen to this, I would recommend talking to Jeremy Potvin, who again is one of our athletes who's a veteran. I know Logan Franklin, who's a friend of mine. He's not affiliated with Uprising or Mid-45, but he's a veteran himself. And I know that he utilizes kratom as well, himself and his family. So we have individuals that are part of our team that are high-level influencer names that vouch for the product, vouch for kratom. They tell their followers, hey, this has helped me. I hope it helps you. And if there's anything that we can get out of this conversation, it is me telling all of your followers exactly that. This has helped me. I hope it helps you. I'm not going to say I guarantee it helps you. I'm not going to make any claims to say it's going to cure this or this or this. I'm just saying if you could give it a try, it might actually benefit your life. And if it doesn't, I hope you find what it is that you're looking for. I truly and honestly do. If it is our product, then you have again validated the reason that I get up every morning.
Awesome. And you guys who are listening to this, I already have the link on my social media, all the social media. You guys go in the links, all the sponsors there. Mid-45 is there. You guys go check it out, snag one from there if you're interested. If you have more questions, I'll put links on where you can reach them. Their social media is top notch. They'll always be able to engage with you. And so any questions you guys have, continue to hit me up with that, continue to hit them up with that. And I just appreciate you guys listening and supporting what we do here, Mid 45. You guys go check it out. Uprising. I'm going to get some Uprising in this house next.
There you go.
Thank you so much for joining us, Mark. I appreciate it.
I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much.